Okay, Alexis, I have went ahead and fixed the formatting, an MLA style format. That's the first and foremost thing. Um, but mostly you wanted me to look at the content of your reader response essay, so I went ahead and did that. And specifically, I looked at your question: why do these federal employees do this to these dedicated people? So we're talking about African Americans and other races being harassed and racially discriminated against and usually it's by law enforcement who are. I think one of the things in your essay that I think you need to remember is that, especially with like the Arizona law, remember that the people of that state, Arizona, and other states too who are doing this, they're the ones that they're the ones that vote the law in, okay? And they're the ones that decide what these officers have to enforce. So we can talk about law enforcement all we want, but they're not the necessarily, and well, I should say, because you may think different, but to me it's like, remember that the laws are voted in by the people because they okay them and they want them in there. The cops themselves, the law enforcement agencies, whether it be the FBI or whether it be, state officials, a sheriff of counties or what have you, because you mentioned Arpaio, their job is to enforce the laws. Now, because of their own, because of some of their own, not everybody, but because of their own racial beliefs, racial discriminatory beliefs, then they discriminate against them, and that's why there's these beatings, there's these violence that happen to people. So just keep that in mind, that they're not the creators, and they're not the creators of the laws, though they may have voted it in, as everybody is, allowed to vote, but they're just the enforcers of the law. But it's actually because of the law itself being that, this is why they're able, people with racial attitudes, that they're able to do what they do. So just keep that in mind, that it's not just the cops, that it's also like a more institutional thing. Institutional meaning that it's like that state, that they want these laws. Okay? So I just wanted to make that clear in there. But in any case, what I ended up doing was that in several places where I thought you needed more explanation, you needed a statistic, you needed something, and there's some evidence to provide you with your general statements, that you need to make sure that you quote something, that you find the statistics to prove your point. And the first one that I found was where you're talking about Zimmerman and the Trayvon Martin case. Okay, and I'm just going to start right into it, so this video is not too long. You have on Prado 2, page 2, you got, this teenager was accused of being a thief by an ignorant man when he had some snacks and drinks with him. But that's not the hard part to believe. It's that Zimmerman, that's the name of the cop, wasn't brought up on charges because of the law, it's supposed to say because of the law. Let me put that in there for you. The law stand your ground, which states that, okay, right there where it says that, I added that little piece right here. Let me move it up a bit, which states that you have to make sure you explain that for your audience. Remember, your audience is the class, and the class aren't, Homeland Security officials, they're not immigration lawyers, they don't know, or not immigration lawyers, but they're not well-rounded in state law. This is a Florida law. So you have to just know, you just have to believe that, you have to anticipate what they know. And more than likely, you just have to believe that the class would not know what stand your ground is. Okay, so make sure that you right after which states that you put which states that, blah, 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 blah. Whatever the law states. And then you put a period, then you put, yes, he killed a young man. Okay, because the class won't know that. You just have to believe that. Someone might know, but you just have to believe that they don't. Okay, so then from there you go on to talk about Arizona. Okay, you talk about the Maricopa County Sheriff. Okay, and you have a really good scenario in here. You talk yourself, you try to explain it in terms that the rest of the class can understand. You use yourself as an example, how you can be stopped just for looking Mexican or looking like an illegal, whatever. It might be, at this point, it's racial profiling. They're looking at your skin color. Okay, which is good. And so But the one where I put a comment at is where it says this law is happening in various states and people are fleeing those states because they are terrorized. I've seen programs, and I'm imagining this is like a television program or a documentary, and you need to make that clear. You can't just say programs. You got to say I am. I have seen. So you have to say I have seen. I've seen television programs, or you could put I have seen documentaries in which field labor is at an all-time low. Okay, and I have there for that one I put right here, make sure you provide a statistic or credible fact from a reliable source proving that farm labor is at an all-time low in a state in which these types of laws are implemented. Okay, so make sure that you say something like I've seen television programs, or I've seen documentaries in which field labor is on all the time. For instance, in such and such movie or film, documentary film called or titled blah blah blah. One of the claims is that, or one statistic is that in such and such state, farm labor has decreased or has been affected negatively by this for 25% of farm laborers have left the state or whatever. I don't know, something in there that states, you know how to do it, something in there that states that it's actually gone down. Like, you can't just say that you've seen programs and that, how do you know that program or whatever? You got to actually tell us where you got that statistic and provide evidence for that general statement. Okay. Also, before I move on to the next one, which is down here in that same paragraph, I want to let you know that I changed some of the language in it. For instance, you talk about white people, white people discriminating, being the white people who are doing this. And I know what you're trying to say. It's like, usually it's because it's a racial thing, you would think that. But in some places like Arizona, it's just not white people. It's actually they're like third or fourth generation Mexican Americans, and they're not all white. That's what I'm trying to say. You got to be fair. And so what I did was Americans, just Americans, period. Like in Arizona, if you cross somebody's land and you're an illegal, just because you're trying to go from point A to point B, people should be able, just as Malcolm X said, necessary to protect ourselves. But it's a long ways from somebody crossing. If somebody, trespassed in your yard, of course you'd be probably mad, call the cops. Maybe there'd be a fist fight, or you just forget about it and say, hey, get out of here. But in some of these states, you could actually shoot somebody and you won't get in trouble at all. But my point is that, so in those kind of places, it's not just white people that have that right. Everybody in Arizona has that right, or used to. I don't know if it's still the same, because like I said, I'm not a Homeland Security. I'm not a law official. I don't know the law, but I know that there is a law that says that. So just don't, generalize it as just white people. Say Americans, because that's really who it is. Any American, has that right. So, some people who are discriminatory, actually, believe it or not, are not necessarily just white people. Okay, so, and in the environment that we are, it's important. This is such a sensitive subject, and that we have to make sure that we're being truthful. Okay, and that we're being not just truthful, not saying that you're lying, but that we have to be, we have to make sure that the whole picture is being seen. So I wanted to make that clear, you know what I mean? Like, that's why, like, right here I say, and on the other hand, Americans aren't taking the job. You said, and white people aren't taking the jobs. So I just said Americans. Okay. And that's why the crops are dying in it. So that's what I mean. That was one example. But in any case, that's what I wanted to say about that. But going down further in the paragraph, okay, there's another place here where I think you made a general statement, but you didn't really back it up, because it was such a general statement that I feel like you have to prove what you say. Like, I don't think that what you have here is enough to prove that. Like, the last sentence here was something to the effect where it says, one fact, you had that Maricopa Sheriff Jarl Ohio was the most racist sheriff or officer. One of them was the racist officer in today's modern world. Now, that is too general. Like, we don't know if that's true. There may be somebody who's more racist than Joe Arpaio in, I don't know, in Bangladesh or in India or in, Spain or any other, Iran, we don't know that for a fact. France. So you can't, there's no way you can possibly prove that unless you do a study. So the thing is, it can be kind of inflammatory. It's too loaded. First of all, there's no way to prove it that you can prove it right, and at least in this paper you can't. So you got to be truthful. Again, that truthful. So I just changed it. But I know what you're trying to say, especially since you gave all these other examples about Arizona and Maricopa County. So I know what you're trying to say, so I just fixed it. I just put, one fact is that Maricopa's Sheriff Joe Arpaio seems to be one of the most racially discriminatory officers in America because, again, we're limiting it to America. We can only talk about America here. And seems to be, and that's for you, you're making that general statement that he seems like. We don't know if it's true, but it seems that way. And what you need here, this is what I have here, and why I insert a comment here. You have to provide proof. Let me bring it up a little bit. Here's what I put. Provide proof that he is indeed one of the most racially intolerant sheriffs in America here. So basically, the way I would do that, Alexis, is that I would find just right now quickly, and I would find a place that shows that since Joe Arpaio has been sheriff of this county, that Mexican immigrants or Mexicans, just in general, Mexicans, whether illegal or not, have been harassed or have been deported or have been, racially profiled or have whatever it is, or that it shows that that they've been unfairly treated, or that, just something that shows that has been severely affected, that there's a lot of illegals. And maybe even then, if you wanted to bring something, even not something that was backed up by evidence, you could say something that, that it, maybe after putting that statistic, you can say, in Arizona, it's difficult, something is difficult to be brown, basically, based on this statistic that says that, even people who are not illegals, just regular people like you and me, that are brown, and that we have been harassed or, racially profiled or victims of discriminatory abuse or whatever. You need to put some kind of statistic that proves that he's one of the most racially discriminatory officers. You know what I mean? Hopefully you can see that. Okay, so that's there. I know this video is long, it's already 12 minutes, but hopefully you'll have time to at least forward and backwarding and get my comments. So take this as a writer's conference here. Okay. Then you say something that at the bottom of the next one you say the acknowledgement is fulfilled. It's the same thing with violence, but I mean, we can't live without crime and hate. This is the devil's thing. He wants us to fall into temptation of hurting someone else in the way he did with Jesus. Okay. Just be careful with this, because I'm not saying that you can't put your own beliefs, because again, this is your opinion. It's nobody else's opinion but yours, and you're more than welcome. Excuse me, that's my dog. He wants attention. But in any case, but just be careful with this. And I like the way you did. You only did one sentence. So make sure in here and just say something like, where it says this is a devil's thing. Some people might not believe that. Some people might be atheists. They might not believe that. You gotta, at least in the schools, you have to be tolerant of all people and their beliefs. At least here. So maybe what you should put here is, without, in my opinion. And this is where you would need, and I know you're not supposed to put in my opinion, but in this case you need to say, for me, I believe this, because you have to say that I'm saying this directly, that you're not imposing your beliefs on others. Okay, so make sure that you put that in there. I would just put it like right here. Okay, you need to qualify it. It's called a qualifier. In my opinion, this is a devil's thing. He wants us so people are sure that you're not like forcing, Dustin or Wyatt or Ale or Lorena or somebody or Cynthia or Marlene to believe the way you believe. That you're just saying, hey, this is the way I believe, this is the way that I see it. I think I made myself clear, so I'll move on. Let me move this, because I already see that that's a misspelling there. On Victoria's Secret. So I'm just going down the list. And where you says, I found a website about racism, and this is the next paragraph, by the way, after you mentioned your belief about Jesus, okay, and what you believe about violence, okay, and so that's okay. I'm on the next paragraph. So then you have latest. Another misspelling. The latest story. Okay. So you're saying that you did your research, you found that very good, but the only thing here is upon looking, I came across an article of a Victoria's Secret model which was pulled out. Pulled out of what? And that's my comment here. Pulled out of being in print, pulled out of the magazine, pulled out of where? Because if she was of Asian descent. So I added descent there, and I misspelled harassed. And then I just went ahead and say, I think what we're talking is, in the same state, you talk about New York covering up the beating of a Puerto Rican man. I think of a Puerto Rican. I'm not sure if it's a woman or male, but I'm assuming it's a male. Okay, in the same state, police officers followed and harassed black males from ages 17 for hanging out, for wearing hoodies. And I like the ironic part, the young men were all honor students. So we're still see it. So that's really good going back to the Trayvon Martin case. You're making, even though you're not literally mentioning it, you're not coming out, this is in New York, but you're showing your audience, which is the class, that this is not something that, that's a one-time deal with Zimmerman in Florida. This is actually going on even in New York. Okay, so I like that. I like that a lot. So that you brought it full circle. Okay, so that's good. And then you make a statement about what you think is they're just basically judgmental officers. And judgmental, I was kind to, I really didn't know what you meant by judgmental. And so I felt like maybe I didn't put a comment on here, but I'm just telling you right now, judgmental officers. I don't know if you're talking about on a racial basis, maybe. That there's the problem also might be that there are lots of judgmental officers. Judgmental about what? Judgmental about race. Just make sure you put something. Actually, it's fine like that, but I don't think it's a very appropriate term. Like, there should be something better that you could say there. But anyways, I knew what you were talking about. That's why I didn't put a thing there. I think that paragraph was good, except for that pulled out part. I think right there you need to put exactly what she was pulled out of. And I'm assuming it's an article, but I can't speak because I'm not sure. I didn't see the article itself. But in any case, going next to the next paragraph, then you start talking about you're actually talking to it on a more personal level, which is really good. That's exactly what I want. You're making light of it. You're not making light. That's the wrong word. You're actually getting reflective on your own opinion. I like that. Okay. But also another thing is, let me see, did I say anything else? Actually, I thought I just changed some words. Like I said, I changed some of the language in it to make it a little bit more palatable and to get more concisely, because I kind of was right on your brainwave. I kind of knew what you were talking about, so I changed some of the language on it. Okay, but I think that's about it. Overall, I think it was really, really good. And again, I'm seeing that, and I said this when I conferenced with you about your question and what you were talking about. And I said I really hear your passion in it, and I know how passionate you feel, and that's what I want that. Also, now that I remember, there was also another comment. Make sure at some point in here, like for instance, especially in the last paragraph, you say, there is a various types where I was going. Yes, there is various types of oppression in our modern world. We have seen everything from the most ignorant to the most hurting violence. Our government must look into this, because what's the point of having the model, the land of the free, if people aren't suffering and feeling terrorized every day in the United States? And when I read this paragraph, one of the things that I saw that was truly missing, and you have to find some way. I'm trying to hurry up, mijo, so you can work on it tonight, so that when you're up there, you're more prepared. You need to somehow connect it back to Malcolm X somehow in it, because there's nothing really of Malcolm X in here. You say the quote and you do that, but there's a lot of places in here, like for instance this last paragraph, that you can refer back to him and say things like, people are just like Malcolm X, was terrorized, and you talked about how the FBI, rather than helping Americans or Afro-Americans, they actually terrorized them and let this violence go on. So somehow you have to bring it back to the text, because in your discussion you really don't mention it. You just start talking about it. So somehow make sure you connect it back, aside from bringing it to yourself and talking about your beliefs and your ideas. Make sure that somehow you also bring it back to Malcolm X. Okay? Those are my suggestions. Hopefully that helped. Let me know what you think. Email me back today and let me know if you understand or if there's anything that I can help you with. So just email me back, say, Miss, I understood your comments, and I'm working on it. Okay? I'll talk to you later, mijo. Bye-bye.